Welcome back to Epic Exchanges, where we love to share stories of transformation and inspiration for us all. I'm Kelly Snider, your host, and today I'm super excited to have Danielle La Rose with us, who is going to share her journey. I don't want to give it away, so I'm going to just ask Danielle to introduce herself. But first of all, thank you for being here, Danielle.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I've been binging all the episodes and getting so excited to just hang out with you. So I appreciate the time. So my name is Danielle La Rose, and I am a sociology professor turned body confidence wellness strategist and coach. That's the basics. I live in Ohio. I have two German Shepherds, and I would rather be dancing and traveling than doing really just about anything else.
Perfect. I love all of that. So why don't we just jump right in and let you share your story?
Awesome. So it starts about sixth grade. I know I'm going back real far, but I'm going back to sixth grade because I remember now looking back, I remember the time when, we had Spirit Week. And so one day was twin day. So me and my best friend were going to dress up the same. And so were picking out our outfits, and she wanted to wear shorts. And again, I'm in Ohio and it was getting to the end of the school year. So of course it is hot. So that makes sense. But I remember in that moment thinking, there is no way I am going to wear shorts. Her legs are perfect. Her body is perfect. She can wear that. I shouldn't be wearing that because I already in sixth grade had so much cellulite, and I had already gotten the message that it was wrong and bad and I shouldn't let anybody see that. And then I continued on with my life. And since then, until I was into my 20s, I don't really remember wearing shorts after that moment, because I would even go to like Florida at Disney World with my family, and I'd be wearing jeans and it's 100 degrees humidity. But again, I was so self-conscious. And so throughout high school, I started trying all these different things to lose weight, right? I would eat one meal a day. I would try to only eat 1,200 calories a day. I would do all the things possible. And I was a competitive dancer, so I was already very active. But in my mind, it still needed to be more. It needed to be better. It needed to be prettier. And so I would do all these drastic things. Then I got all my high school graduation money, and I thought the smartest, most intelligent thing that an 18-year-old girl can do with this much money, which seemed like $1 million at the moment, was go and have a procedure to remove all your cellulite. Duh, that's so exciting. That's like the smartest thing to do. And my mom would appreciate me saying she warned me and said, do not do this. But I was, a stubborn girl. And now I say I was a confident girl. And I said, no, this is what I want to do. And so I spent all my high school graduation money on a procedure to get rid of all my cellulite. It didn't work. Don't ever do that. But I did it, and whatever. So I lived on with cellulite. I went to college, and at that point, I still was so self-conscious with how I looked, but also just in general. I would skip presentations in college and take an F on the assignment if it required me to stand up in front of people and talk. My grad school professor wrote one time, if you don't speak up in class, you won't be successful. It's clear that you know the material from your papers, but you have to speak up. And I'm like, okay, great. I try all the time, but I still I struggle so much with just being seen and being heard and using my voice. And then I was in a class where the light bulb went off, and I was watching a documentary that they showed the whole class about marketing and how women's bodies are used and positioned and different, and how all this stuff, all the research that they had done, with just seeing how women are portrayed with marketing and our body and how that aligns with beauty standards and the goal and all these things. And at the end of that documentary, I will never forget it. The women, were young women, and we just kind of look at each other like, what just happened? Our whole world just blew up. It just went upside down, because in that moment we realized, oh my gosh, this is why I've struggled since sixth grade with loving my body. This is why I struggle and feel like I need to work out 3 hours a day. And this is why. And of course, the dudes in the class are just like, okay, this was cool, great, moving on. And we're like, but yeah, so I sat in that class and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is it. So I went on this whole thing of telling everyone about, if Barbie was real, like we wouldn't be able to menstruate and like all these things. And so I went on, I was just so obsessed with this idea that I'm living in a world that I don't really understand, and it's affecting the choices that I make or don't make and how I feel about myself. And you would think that at that point it'd be like, okay, great, you solved the problem, we're good, we're not going to do crazy diet things anymore. But that's not the case, because I gained lots of weight in college because it's college and I was living my best life and, eating McDonald's twice a day and drinking 6 Mountain Dews a day. And I, went on. And then when I got out of school, I said, okay, this is going to be the time. I'm going to get healthy. So I did all the things. I worked out a lot. I ate healthy, and I got it. Like, I was so quote unquote healthy. My abs were like starting to get ripped. I was like, yes, I'm getting this like dream body that everyone tells you about. And I'm working so hard. And then one day I looked around and I realized, wow, I'm skipping out on family events. I'm not going to girls' night. I'm not enjoying the Mountain Dew every once in a while that I really miss. I'm not, I'm just not. This isn't what health should feel like. This doesn't feel healthy. This feels very controlled. This feels very overwhelming. This feels very not living life. I'm really just trapped in my house because I can't go outside because there's nothing for me to eat because I have to be perfect. And so it was then in that moment where I said, okay, now I'm grown. Now I'm going to take all those things that I learned throughout all of my studies with sociology and understanding how it works and that whole marketing thing, and figure out how to do health and fitness in a body confident way to where I can enjoy my best life and actually be more confident and feel really good about myself. At the same time, I am taking care of my body and I am getting healthy and making fitness fun and making food really simple. So it started in 6th grade. And then I made it here. And I'm not going to say that I'm done, right? I always tell people this is like a lifelong journey of body confidence and trying to figure things out. So I'm not done, but that's where I'm at today.
Wow, that is a journey. And I think a lot of women can totally relate to it as early as 6th grade, if not earlier, or sometime in those super formative years, puberty, all of that, when we start being more aware. But one thing I want to pull out, and I want to ask you right now while I'm thinking about it, when you say that you were going to live your best life, what does that look like on a daily basis?
Oh, that's good. Living my best life to me, there's a quote that I always think about. It says, dance like nobody's watching. And I'm like, no, I want to dance like everybody is watching and dance anyways, right? Like for me, that's what living my best life is. It means making choices that are right for me, not right for everybody else. Living my best life is living with lots of energy, which I do have lots of energy, but living with lots of energy and positive energy and doing things that bring me joy. And I think a lot of times through that health fitness journey, we can lose a lot of that. And so that's what living my best life means.
And part of that is knowing what brings you joy.
Yes.
Is it the ripped abs and the cellulite-free legs? Did that bring you joy? Or did it not? I mean, you don't have to answer, but how do we need to figure that out, what brings us joy for sure.
Right. And that's where, and that's where I like to get people, because if ripped abs and, eating quote unquote perfectly brings you joy and is what you want to do and you're confident in that choice, girlfriend, you better do that. That's exactly what you should do. But often we get so wrapped up in the world that we don't take a second, like you said, right, to just think, what does bring me, like, is this bringing me joy? And then we can make different choices.
Yeah, it's so easy to go through the motions, so to speak. So I'm wondering if can someone love their body? Because you talk about like loving your body, but also still want to change it. Like, are
Oh,
those mutually exclusive, or they can they work together?
okay. So this is a hot topic in the world. I'll give you my opinion is the answer is yes. You can absolutely, love your body and want to change it. Because I like to think of it, I don't have children of my own, but I imagine if I was a parent that my child, I would love them. but there's lots of things that I would probably want to change about them, right? I would want them to pick up their clothes. I would want them, right, to be kinder. Or I would want them. There's so many things that you're like, okay, that's your job as a parent, is to mold them. And so same with or a relationship, right? Like, I love my husband, but there are times where I'm like, homie, we got to work on some stuff here, right? So we can, and that's what I think about our body, is our bodies are a relationship, right? Like, I date myself every single day. And so my job every day is to show up for her and to love on her and to help her improve. And so, yes, I love my body. And that's the thing I also want to point out here, because it's easy to say love your body. And I always say you don't have to love your body, right? Like, I don't love my cellulite. Like, that's weird. Maybe one day I'll get to that point, but I don't love my cellulite. But what I do now is I do appreciate my legs. I do appreciate what they do for me. So it's just a shift for me of, maybe we don't have to love our bodies completely, but we can treat our bodies in a loving way, and we can start doing some appreciation and gratitude for our bodies and what they do. And I believe that's what, like, gets us to that point of, like, actually liking until we can love our body. And even when we love it, anything you love, you want to get better at it, right? Like, I love reading. That doesn't mean I stop reading. It means I read more because I love it and I want to keep getting better and learning and doing the things. So yeah, I think, long way of saying, yes, I think we can love our bodies and want to change them at the same time.
Right. I love a lot of what you said. And what I kept thinking was, you mentioned you were a competitive dancer, but that you were like in sixth grade when you were like, I have cellulite. First of all, I don't think I knew what cellulite was when I was in sixth grade, but I was not body confident for sure. I'm still not. I'm still dealing with that. But because of being a dancer and being in the dance world and everything, I imagine, yes, super active, super trained, but also depending on what kind of dance you were focused on, there's a lot of expectations around body type for, say, ballet and that kind of thing. So even though you were super strong and skilled and able, because you were competitive, you still had things that you didn't like, that you weren't happy about.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Like, and like you said, I think it's all the environment. I realized early on that the ballet wasn't the route that my body was ever going to take me. I think there's a couple of movies, right, where they look at their feet and they're like, no, you don't have the right feet. And I just always knew I didn't have the right feet, the right legs for ballet. So I didn't even, I called that out real quick. But yeah, you're in an environment where it is a lot about appearance, right? We spent so much time putting on makeup, and the outfits we don't cover, we're not in long sleeves and long pants. And so there is that, that your body is very important for what you do. And so yeah, absolutely, that can have a huge impact.
I imagine the shift too, in terms of loving your body. What jumps into my mind right now is like also appropriately fueling is loving, right? Because you're not going to put inferior gas in a high performance car.
Right. Yeah. And so I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, so are there other examples? Because that's the first one that popped into my mind, but other examples of ways to love your body.
Yeah. So I love what you just said, because I think oftentimes we end up on so many spectrums in our world, right? Where you're either over here, or you're way over here. And with this, in order to love your body, you have to be in tune with your body. And again, like we said before, we just go day to day and not thinking about, how does this make me feel? Does this bring me joy? How does this food sit in my stomach? Right? And so it's reminding ourselves that, like you said, food is fuel. So what makes me, not what's going to make me lose weight, but what's going to actually give me energy? I share little tips with, like, my clients, if 2 or 3 p.m. hits and that's your time where you're like, ready to go home from work because you're so tired, that's the time where there is, like, we can put certain foods together that are going to spike your energy a little bit more so you can make it through. That's how food works in our bodies. Again, we just think of our bodies as this thing that's supposed to be pretty. Our bodies are the most magical machines. And so when you can shift your mindset around thinking, my body is a machine, what does it need? in order to function properly, in order to have lots of energy, and paying attention to that, because everybody's body is different. What I need is different than what you need, and what you need is different from what someone else needs. And so the best thing that we can do is, again, it's that creating that healthy relationship with our body. How do I feel today? How does my stomach feel? What does it need? Is it craving water? Is it craving veggies? What does it need in this moment? So that's the food part. And then we have, right, the mindset part. So for me, what I like to do every day is what I call body gratitude. We often hear of gratitude, right? Like thankful for our food and our family and all these things. But when was the last time you literally were just like, thank you, body, for allowing me to live,
Hmm.
right? Like that's the only way that we're breathing right now, is because our bodies decided to wake up this morning. They decided to move. And not everyone has that luxury. Not everyone has, right? We all have different abilities. And so the abilities that you do have with your body, expressing gratitude for them. So I like to pull things apart, right? Like legs. Thank you so much for yesterday. We took such a long walk with the dogs and we had so much fun, right? Or arms. Thank you so much. I went and saw my family this weekend. Thank you for allowing me to give hugs for people that I really care about. Stomach, because we often hate on our stomachs. So stomach, thank you so much for processing that food that I just went and enjoyed with my best friend, where we laughed so hard it hurt, right? And so it's just pulling those things apart to remind, again, it's sending that signal to ourselves that my body is here to do something. It's not here to look like something. I wasn't born to be pretty. I'm not paid to be. I'm not a model. If I was, then I couldn't say the statement. But I wasn't put on this earth, and I'm not born, and I wasn't. I'm not paid to be pretty. So that should be the least of my concerns. And I like to talk about. I always like to ask people, what are your top 3 life priorities? Of course, people list off, well, my family, great career, experiences. And then we realize none of the top 3 priorities had anything to do with the way that you look.
Hmm.
So why is it then that the average woman spends 12.5 hours a week thinking about her body? Right? We know that 70 to 85% of women choose to not do life activities, right? So many people are like, oh, just put on the bikini. No, 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 no. Majority of women struggle to just go to the grocery store because of a lack of confidence in their body. So many women struggle to just go out to the playground with their kids because of a lack of confidence in their body. And so we know, so if that's the case, right, we need to get back to what's actually important. And so I love talking about bodies. I love talking about body image and beauty standards and all the things. But really, my goal for myself and every other human, especially women, is I don't want you to think about your body at all. I just want you to, again, going back to that, live your best life. And the way that we do that is, like we've said before, talking about joy, but it's our priorities. So it's our passion, our purpose, and our priorities. And usually those 3 P's have nothing to do with how we look. And so then we can evaluate. The best thing that you can do is then go evaluate your calendar, go evaluate your bank account. Where are you spending money? Where are you spending your time? And if you're spending more of your time and your money trying to be prettier, then what you're actually saying is that that's your top priority. So then you got to get real with yourself. Is that really a top priority for you? Or do we just need to adjust where we're spending our time, our energy, our money to actually put that towards our passion, our purpose, and our priorities? So that way our life is in alignment with what's actually important to us. And just be more conscious of that, right? Like we just go day to day and it's not our fault that we think about our bodies all the time. It's not our fault that we struggle with our body image. But when we become more aware of what's happening, then we are more like we can take more control and be like, okay, no, we're not going to do that as much, right? And maybe 12.5 hours, even if you started just thinking about your body 6 hours a week, what if we could get it down to 5? What if we could get it down to 4? Like imagine the amount of time that you would have mentally to enjoy your life. That sounds really cool to me. Like imagine like the change that we can make in the world if we stopped thinking and obsessing so much about how we looked and started obsessing about all the cool things that are actually important to us.
Hmm. I like that even as a takeaway. But I want to talk for a minute because I know you've written a book
Oh yeah.
and I think it's called, correct me if I'm wrong, 75-Day Healthy.
Yep.
Okay, so we know there's thousands and thousands of health, fitness, mindset, those kinds of books out there, diet. How is your book different? How does it stand apart?
Yeah. So it came about, it's a play on the whole challenge of 75-day hard. Because I started having so many clients come to me and say, Danielle, what's wrong with me? Why can't I follow anything? Why can't I why can't I do the workouts? Why can't I do the meal plan and all that? And I said, okay, tell me more. What are you doing? What is not working for you? And they're like, I even tried it's free. It's 75-day hard. And all you got to do is work out twice a day, 45 minutes each, one at least outside. You got to follow a diet. You got to take a picture every day. They started listing off all these things. And I thought, well, no wonder you can't stick with that. You right now are struggling to just come home from work without stopping at the fast food. You're right now struggling just to get up and take a walk with your children. But now you're going to try to tell yourself that you have to be perfect for 75 days, doing an hour and a half workout, a hard diet, taking pictures, weighing yourself, doing all these things. No, that is the reason why you can't stick to something. You keep falling off. Here's the thing, because you're on the wrong path. Because everyone says, oh, I keep falling off track. What track are you on? I'm on the track of life. So I can't fall off. It's my life. It's just going, right? I make different choices. So if you keep falling off track, it means you're on a track that is full of perfection and you're never going to be successful. So that's why I decided, okay, we need to just start. We need to just start. And we already know that women, starting from very young, we struggle with perfectionism. Everything has to be perfect. We have to meet all the qualifications to apply for a job. Everything just has to be perfect or we don't do it. And that's what 75-Day Hard was set up to do, as well as almost every other diet, every other fitness program. If you miss a day, you start back from day one, right? And so it's that mindset of even if I make it to day 72, if I miss my workout outside because it's snowing outside, I got to start back at day one because that wasn't good enough. That is a serious problem that's going to mess us up forever. So I said, okay, we got to do something different. So in order to do something different, we have to keep things simple because, again, I truly believe that fitness can be fun and food should be simple. And the more we overcomplicate it, the more we just make it so complex, the harder it's going to be, the less likely we are to follow it. So 75-Day Healthy, my book, is literally just, I talk about it, it's like a health devotional. So every day there's a motivational message or a story, a tip, a challenge, something. And then you go on and you have 6 power moves of the day. And so that's to do a 15-minute workout. And that by workout, you decide what that means for you, right? Is it a walk? Is it high intensity? Is it running? Is it biking? Is it whatever? 15 minutes, move your body, right? 75 ounces of water. We're going to do, instead of focusing on a diet, I don't want you to remove anything, right? Because I don't know about anybody else, but if you tell me I can't have something, I want it even more. So don't tell me I can't have anything. So what I do is, instead of saying you can't have these things or you have to diet, we say instead, here's what we're going to add. The rest of your day, I don't care. You decide what that looks like because I'm not working with you one-on-one, so I don't know what that is. But I can ask you to eat 3, 2, 1. So that's 3 servings of protein, 2 servings of veggies, and 1 piece of fruit. And you can't even imagine how many women that I work with who are going through this program who say, I'm still struggling just to get in 2 servings of veggies, right? And again, but they're the same people who started out trying to do these crazy intense diets, right? And so again, it's all about just simplifying it. So there's nothing, I'm not going to act like this is some profound, crazy, awesome workout meal plan thing that, you can't get anywhere else. No, we're taking it back to the basics. But what's different in my book, I believe what's different is, number one, you're getting all the motivation and my tips and thoughts around all of this. And we're approaching it from a body confident viewpoint, right? I don't want you to weigh. I don't want you to take pictures because I don't care what your body does throughout this. Because what I do know is if you make healthier choices for 75 days, you're going to feel better. You're going to be more confident. You're going to feel like you can take the next step, right? And then at the end, I say, hey, if this is too simple for you now, you're ready to upgrade. Here's the next level, right? So instead of a 15-minute workout, it's a 30-minute workout. Instead of 3 or 2 servings of veggies, we can bump it up to 3. And so it's all about just taking these small steps and saying, let's ditch the diets. Let's ditch all the complex thoughts around food and fitness. And let's keep it real simple for those who just want to get healthier, who don't need 6-pack abs, who aren't going to compete in a bikini competition. And right, like that's not their goal. Their goal is to enjoy playing with their kids more. Their goal is to be able to put clothes on and not stress about in the mirror. Their goal is to have more energy and zest for life. And so this process takes them through that of 75 days of, let's focus on this quote for the day of really what are we doing to improve our body image, our body confidence through this process using food and fitness as a tool to create the confidence that we want in our life.
Right. I love the adding to rather than the restricting from
Yeah.
kind of shift, because yeah, you tell me I can't have something and it's the only thing I'm going to obsess about.
Right.
Like, yeah. I also thought about, that 2 or 3 o'clock slump when you're in the office or whatever. And my go-to was always like, okay, time for a Coke. And I haven't had like soda pop in probably 10 years, except the odd one, like when I'm out with a friend and it was like, that's the best thing, the best taste, but it's once or twice a year
Yeah.
now. Whereas it used to be every day I needed that Coke sugar hit or whatever. And of course, then I would crash a couple hours later.
Right.
In that moment, Coke, sugar, caffeine, all of it, I was like, that's what my body needs. And it didn't, but that's what we were taught, right?
No, it's so true. And so what I do, in case this can serve and support anyone listening, is I like to have a carb with a protein and a fruit. And that combination for me, and again, everybody's body is different, but that combination of nutrients really helps my body when I start getting a little slumpy, tired. And also, if I could give a little trick too, if it's helpful, one thing that I used to do, I always say, you know, I get cravings just like, everyone else, I'm like, oh, I could really go for Chipotle today. And then I think about what I have to do. And so I teach group fitness classes and I'm like, oh, but I have class tonight. And I know that if I eat my Chipotle, my body is not going to function the way that it needs to for a fitness class. And so I always think about those things too, like how can you schedule your workouts around and different things so that way you are fueling your body and you're doing really great things for your body and paying attention to the times where what food does to your body, right? And how you can use your workouts at the same time to be like, well, I guess, yeah, let's eat that, the waffle with the eggs and the banana instead of the Chipotle because that's not going to work well for me.
Right. So it is, you have to start to learn how your body reacts. You have to start paying attention,
Yeah.
obviously, to be able to get to that point, because you're now an expert, right? Listening to your body and knowing how things affect you.
Yeah.
Some of us might not be because we've ignored it for so long or
Yes.
whatever. So it just starts one day at a time.
Yeah.
Uh, if you could bust one health myth out there and like wish that people would stop saying it, following it, believing it, whatever it is there something that pops into your mind that you just wish, like, get over it? That is not true.
I mean, there are a lot. The one thing I will say, I don't know if this exactly answers it, but the one thing that really bothers me right now the most in the industry is the combativeness of what's right and what's wrong. On one spectrum, we have body positivity and we have intuitive eating. And on the other end, it's people, trainers that are like, no, you have to count your macros and, weigh your macros and you got to do all these things and you got to work at the gym and lift the weights. And the people over here are like, if you take a walk, it's fine. We have these like really drastic differences and the I'm right, you're wrong. And it's doing a big disservice to all of us who feel like we have to label ourselves, right? I went on this journey too through my whole process of can I fit in with body positive because I kind of have other thoughts about these different things. And then, but over here, I don't really fit in either because I also agree with some of this intuitive eating stuff. And so then I kept feeling like I had to label myself and I was stressing myself out even more to figure out where I fit in. And so I would just say, again, for me, it's all about like, shut up the outside voices of all of that and just come into yourself and say, what actually makes sense to me? What would feel good to me? And do more of that. So I wish we could get all of these people out here to stop judging everyone else's choices and encourage people to learn, to educate themselves, and to make choices that are right for them. I made a funny TikTok the other day because, people ask me a lot, doesn't it bother you when people, have weight loss surgery or, they, are taking these shots to lose weight? And of course, do I wish that I could help them before they get to that point to find that that's necessary? Yes, I would love to support people. But my goal at the end of the day is to help women feel confident in their bodies and to be confident in the choices that they make. So if they feel like that's the right choice for them, I'm not here to judge them. I want the same for them. I want them to be happy. I want them to be healthy. I want them to be confident. So it's not my place to judge because, you know, their body's none of my business and my body's none of their business. And so I guess now that I come to that, that would be my message for the world is let's just let everyone make the right choices that are right for them and stop making it so complicated for everyone and let people just do them.
So we started this discussion with your story. Why is it important for you to share your story?
I think that's twofold. Number one, there was a long time where I didn't feel like my story mattered. I would hear a lot of people tell drastic stories about car crashes or battling a disease or, having, family trauma that they overcame. And I just was like, well, I'm just a girl who struggles with her body image. Doesn't everybody else? And so for me, sharing my story, I hope that it gives other people to know that like their story matters. Just like that's the whole point of your podcast. That's why I felt even more confident showing up today and being like, yes, my story matters because what you do is so powerful of letting people share their stories. So that's one is I want that. And also I really just want people in general, but especially women to use food and fitness as tools to live their best life with that being the goal and knowing that how they look is the least interesting thing about them and they deserve the time and the energy back to put into things that are actually really important to them. Yeah.
Well, I think that your purpose, your mission, and your message is really all about providing freedom to people in this culture that has so much restrictions around health, fitness, diet. It's a huge conversation. So if people want more of your fantastic energy and wisdom in this area, how can they find you?
Thank you for saying that. Yes, so I'm on all the social medias. I love the TikTok and Facebook are probably my two main places where I'm at. Or my website is prettypowerfulgirl.com or DanielleLaRose.com. And yeah, I would love to hang out, share all the things, have the conversations because I do think it's an important conversation that I don't think a lot of women get the opportunity to talk about enough and feel safe talking about. So come hang out with me.
Great. So we will, as always, we will make sure that we share all the links that you give us on our socials so people can find you and connect with you easily so they don't have to remember or go searching or anything. But I just want to thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story and being so passionate because people are attracted to passion and it's obvious how deeply you believe in your message and how important it is for all of us. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I appreciated this so much.